You know, probably not. Mainly because the war crimes are, the criminals are so many. I mean, the real dereliction of duty came from the Congress. Congress could have stopped the whole thing. Congress they should have just never given them this pseudo-authority and never given them a nickel, assumed the responsibility, it wouldn't have happened. So yes, he's guilty of a lot, and it was more than just being misled. A lot of lies were told, and it was so deliberate. There was a lot of special interest. I don't think it's going to be as productive as some other things. But I would like to just mention the issue very briefly about the abortion issue, because I am right to life. I believe that. Issue on the basic moral principle I just said. I can't use force or violence to hurt other people. And as an OB doctor, I mean, I have dealt with life at the very early stages and at the late stages, and all of a sudden here we had a Supreme Court come along and rule that even up into the 8th and 9th month, if a doctor decided to do an abortion, he could get paid for it. Yet if a girl delivers a baby 1 minute after birth and throws the baby away, she's arrested for murder. But I get paid 1 minute before, and she gets arrested for murder 1 minute afterwards. There's something screwy about that. There's something that has to be resolved. And the unborn has legal rights. They get inheritance right at the time of conception. If I do harm to the unborn, I can get sued, and rightfully so. So if there's a homicide and to kill the mother and the child, there's a double homicide. If you're in an accident, you're liable. If you kill a woman's child in an accident, you're responsible and liable. So there's a lot of legal precedents for it. But then there's also the complicated, very, very emotional reasons why people think they should have abortions and all. And sometimes it isn't all that easy. But this is the magnificent thing about our Constitution, is we don't want, you know, a 5-4 vote in the Supreme Court dictating every single thing everybody in the country does. The states should deal with this issue.
Steve Robinson from Lake County, which went for you in the caucus in February. The revolution is a work in progress, and looking forward from 2008, if you don't, what are your ideas, what are your plans, what do you think we should be doing looking forward from here through 2008 and beyond?
Well, I think everybody has a responsibility, but it won't all be the same. Some may decide that the biggest contribution they can have if they're in college right now, they might like journalism. And they might like to be a teacher. They might want to be a constitutional lawyer. They might want to support another candidate. They might want to become a candidate. But to me, like I said earlier, the most important thing is really know and understand the issues so you can defend them, and there will be a job. For me, things will go on. There will be, I've always had, since 1976, I've had an educational foundation. And it was small, and not many people heard about it, but maybe a lot more people will hear about it later on. And I'll be, very much involved in no matter what. But everybody's going to be involved, but not everybody's going to do exactly the same thing. And that's good. I think that's fine. But it's when a whole generation grows up and moves into important positions where they literally are writing for newspapers, and they're in journalism, they're in television, and all of these things. So that's what influences a country is an attitude, a prevailing attitude. But I still think education is one of the most important things, but political action is very important too. All I've ever said in the campaign, and anytime you get involved, is that you ought to have a lot of fun doing it. Because if you think too seriously about it, it can be depressing. And when you get working with people who have one goal of freedom, even though they might not agree with you on all your personal values, you still can have a lot of fun doing this. And I think a lot of people took my advice on that and they had a lot of fun in this campaign. So I hope you've had a lot of fun out here.
I'm Peter Gore. I'm a student at the University of Montana. And a lot of my classmates and I are concerned that maybe smaller government might mean cutting funding for educational institutions. I was just wondering if you see education as a right or a privilege, and if you were to be elected, what your policy would be on that. Thank you.
Well, nobody has a right to an education. It'd be like having a right to medical care and a right to a job and a right to a house and all these things. You have a right to your life. You have a right to your liberty. You have a right to keep what you earn. But when it comes to, the federal government shouldn't even be involved in education. Had, like I said, I'd have competing currencies instead of getting rid of the Fed in one day. I'd have competing currencies and work out of it. What I would do if I could save these hundreds of billions of dollars from our foreign policy, I would tie the people over that are on retirement benefits. There's no Social Security money there, but I'm not picking on Social Security beneficiaries. They've been told that they were going to get their money back. I wouldn't cut that. I would tie them over and take care of them. I would take care of people who have medical needs. I would take care of some of the educational needs. I'd much rather do that. I mentioned about the infrastructure. I don't want to blow up bridges in Iraq and rebuild them. I want to take care of the bridges here. But what we could do is, how do you do it best? How would you have more money in education? You'd have more money, you got a healthy economy, not wasting all this money overseas, and the money stayed at home or stayed in your pocket. This is where you would get the money. If you say, well, what can I do to help college kids? Well, make sure that you don't have any taxes whatsoever while you're in college. Or you get to keep everything. You can give tax credits to students or parents, for the money they spend on education. But there's a lot of things that can be done. But before, just like I said, in medicine, we charged the least amount, and people weren't turned away. The churches ran the hospitals, and everybody got medical care. Same way in education. When I went to college, I got a job running a soda fountain on the college campus. And I made $325 a semester to be the manager of this soda fountain. But that paid my whole tuition. Costs weren't high. Today you're dealing with cost of medicine, cost of education, and those prices are inflated more than anything else. So you can't look at these as an education problem. You have to look at it as a spending problem, foreign policy spending, printing money, inflation. Because the prices go up in some areas more than in other areas. The government's more involved in medicine, education, and housing. And that's where you have the most amount of inflation. Of course, now the housing bubble collapsed. So, yes, a free market would help you tremendously. Costs would be down, and there'd be much more greater incentive for you to work and get your money. In medical school, if you didn't have enough money, there was an endowment that you could borrow your money and pay 1%. And some doctors did that. I didn't have to do that. I put my wife to work instead.
This is something I consider of great concern to me and many that I know. I just want to know, will you not only support, but will you fight for a new independent investigation as to what happened on September 11th?
Yes, I am for more investigation. I believe the investigation was a cover-up of ineptness, and hiding people. I have no idea exactly what went on, but I'm not happy. But what you have to be careful about is, how are you going to absolutely be sure the next investigation is better than the last investigation? Government investigations have never been very trustworthy. I mean, that is where our real problem is. But I think it did not answer the questions, and exactly the motivations and what really went on. We don't have those answers.